This is Blue Gold News Now, your spot for current events, campus news, and everything in between. Now, live from Tower's basement, it's BNN with our hosts Alex Rubio and Marissa Day.
Good evening, I'm Alex Rubio.
And I'm Marissa Day.
Coming up tonight, an elementary school carnival is raising money for new playground equipment.
But first, the UW system president unveiled a new admissions policy. The University of Wisconsin system announced a brand new direct admissions policy to be put into effect next year. Wisconsin students who meet specified grade point average and class rank criteria will receive an admission letter from select UW system schools without having to submit an application. A similar direct admissions policy was adopted in the state of Idaho, and University of Idaho schools have since seen a 4 to 8% increase in undergrad enrollment. And UW system president Jay Rothman is hoping adopting a similar policy will boost enrollment at University of Wisconsin schools, following a steady decline in enrollment in the last few years. Currently, UW-Eau Claire, UW-Madison, and UW-La Crosse have opted out of the new policy and will still require prospective students to submit an application.
This week, on October 11th, Chippewa Valley begins their annual book festival. This year marks the 24th anniversary of the festival and looks to be quite a page-turner. Chippewa Valley will be holding this event for 5 days, starting on the 11th and ending on the 16th. The Valley will be sprinkled with both local and out-of-state authors, who will be offering all manner of activities. From presentations, book signings, and reveals, this event looks to be a great way to spend some days celebrating the love of novels and storytelling. Both online and in-person options will be present, and most of the activities will be located in the Eau Claire Public Library. If you're an avid reader or love the art of storytelling, check out the Chippewa Valley Book Festival.
BNN will return with information about Indigenous Peoples Day.
And more after this short break. Welcome back. Monday was National Indigenous Peoples Day, and in honor of the holiday, UW-Eau Claire hosted a trip to Turtle Island.
It was a celebration of art, music, and food from Indigenous communities all across North America. BNN reporter Hunter Tullius has more information.
In honor of Indigenous Peoples Day, Multicultural Student Services partnered up with local Indigenous community members to host a trip to Turtle Island. This event was a celebration of all Indigenous cultures across North America. Art, music, poetry, and food from all over were present.
It was really kind of at the cross-section of celebrating indigeneity across North America, across the Americas. So we had a combination of food and art and music performances and dance performances that really highlighted different cultural elements within our respective Indigenous communities.
Rosa Gomez, one of the event organizers, felt a strong connection to the event, and seeing the turnout by the community helped build a feeling of hope.
Having events like this or programming like this was a really big facet in making me feel represented and really fostering a sense of belonging. It makes me hopeful about representation in the future.
Rosa was not alone in these feelings. Rebecca Crisanta de Ybarra, a local Wisconsin musician playing at the event, was honored to be invited. The event marked a great point of relief in her life.
This feels like, in some ways it feels like a kind of coming home, even though this is my home, a welcoming home in a way I've never been welcomed home before.
After poetry readings, group dances, and passionate singing, the message of the day's event was clear.
We need to hear the stories directly from people, and the only way to do that is by being a little bit brave.
Reporting for Blue Gold News Now, I'm Hunter Tullius.
For more information about upcoming events and how to get involved, contact the Office of Multicultural Student Services or the Intertribal Student Council for more information.
I think, like we've said so many times, it's amazing how much Eau Claire does to recognize different races and like ethnic cultures on campus. It's amazing.
It's really incredible, and I think especially because of the location of our campus, you know, being that the Chippewa Valley and especially Eau Claire was home to multiple different Indigenous tribes, and I love the fact that we recognize them in our mission statement as a university, in the land acknowledgement that's on any piece of university equipment or content anywhere. It's really special to be able to acknowledge that we are on borrowed lands.
Yeah, and acknowledgement and respect and recognition.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think you have a story actually about that too.
It's really special, yes. And our next story is talking about another culture. Tonight, UW-Eau Claire is hosting Sabor Latino, a banquet celebrating Latin American and Hispanic Heritage Month, as well as the opening of a new cultural center on campus. The event will feature hundreds of street tacos, live music, and guest speaker Sonia Nazario, a two-time Pulitzer-winning journalist and activist speaking on the topic of immigration advocacy. The event will run in the Dakota Ballroom from 5 to 8 p.m. and is being hosted in collaboration between the Office of Multicultural Student Services, Latin American Studies Department, and the Center for Racial and Restorative Justice.
On October 8th, Flynn Elementary School held their first ever fall carnival to raise money for new playground equipment. While this school has always had a carnival at the end of the school year to celebrate their students' success, this was the first ever carnival they've held during the fall. With a playground that is over 2 decades old, a new setup was more than overdue. With the money going to a good cause and smiles and laughter to be had at the carnival, it sounds like this event was a fun festival full of excitement and splendor. Did you ever have a carnival at your elementary school?
We did, yeah. I grew up having a carnival. We called it Springfest.
Oh yeah, I remember those days. Those were really good days. They would have all of the playground open and everything.
Yes.
And speaking of the playgrounds, thankfully they're getting a new one because I don't know about anyone watching, but I remember old wooden playground and getting so many splinters.
Well, and how exciting that students get to raise money and fundraise for a new playground with a carnival.
Exactly. It's just an all-around fun way and a good way to raise money for a good cause.
You could say it puts the fun in fundraising.
Oh. Well, coming up after this break, Epilogue returns, and this week we're talking horror books.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone, and happy spooky season.
Best time of the year, that's for sure. Look at that background. That's incredible.
With the bone-chilling season of October upon us, Epilogue will be looking at some of the scariest and most terrifying books and movies out there this month.
So exciting.
Indeed.
Indeed, and with Halloween just around the corner and only a small amount of time to revel in the fun that is October, tonight on Epilogue we will be looking at our personal favorite scary books to read in the pitch black of the night.
First up, we have my favorite horror book. That would be 172 Hours on the Moon. It's been decades since anyone has set foot on the moon. 3 teenagers have won a NASA-sponsored lottery for a trip to the desolate plains of our astral neighbor. As they take this trip of a lifetime, they are unaware that this may be their last trip they will ever take. A mystery awaits on the surface of the moon, and in the dark void of endless space, no one will be able to hear their screams. Have you ever read this book?
No, I've never read it, but it sounds terrifying. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, most people don't like the dark, right? I don't like the dark. But being surrounded
By just that.
by just endless
Just that.
blackness in the most expansive part of the sky, I can't imagine.
And with this book, so it takes place on a base that was set up on the moon, a secret base that nobody was told about. And there's something up there with them. They'll look out the window and they'll just see boot prints just standing outside the window. Nothing there. All the spacesuits are accounted for, but just boot prints. They slowly start to uncover different aspects of what's haunting them and hunting them. Slowly, the 3 go down to 2, and then down to our final survivor. And will they make it off the moon? I guess we'll have to read it and try and see.
That's terrifying.
It was an absolutely terrifying book, and I read it when I was on vacation, and I would just stay up with the flashlight, like we were talking about, just reading through it, trying to get to the end so I could see if anyone lived.
Classic.
It's really good, and I think there's even a cliffhanger / twist ending at the end. So
Really? I might have to check this one out.
it's a good one.
I'm excited. My next one, we're going to talk about my favorite horror book of all time. It's Carrie by the one and only Stephen King. Now, the book is set in Chamberlain, Maine, as many Stephen King books are set in Maine. And the plot revolves around Carrie White, a friendless, bullied high school girl from an abusive religious household. Now, Carrie discovers that she has telekinetic powers, meaning she can manipulate things with her mind. And feeling guilty for harassing Carrie, Sue Snell invites Carrie to go to the prom with Tommy Ross. But one humiliating prank later, and the whole town is a bloodbath. It's kind of scary, I would say. I mean, what's more scary, right, than the town outcast?
Then prom, yeah.
Well, prom? I don't think my prom was quite that scary, but nobody got doused in pig's blood. So.
Yeah, I was looking at some of like the imagery when we were like looking over pictures, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of blood. And why do Stephen King's books always take place in Maine? What's about Maine?
It's always Maine. It's something. I think he grew up in Maine.
I mean, I would guess,
correct.
but like, is there something super creepy about Maine?
There could be something supernatural happening in Maine.
Apparently,
Thank goodness
Carrie.
we're in Wisconsin.
Exactly, a few states away.
But I love Carrie because.
What do you love about it? Yeah.
It's been adapted quite a few times. So there's obviously the book, and I've read the book. I love the book. There's, I think, a couple movie adaptations of Carrie, as well as a musical theater adaptation.
Oh wow, it has all 9 yards apparently.
Whole 9 yards. And I don't know, there's just something that's eerie about it. Like you can see it coming from a mile away, but then when crap hits the fan at the end of it, for lack of better phrasing, you really like are in shock.
Yeah,
indeed. It's not so gory that it's like in your face gory. You know, reading it doesn't make you sick to your stomach, but it's shockingly brutal.
Yeah, and I think the scariest thing about a horror book that's a lot different than a horror movie is with a horror movie there are jump scares. There's tense moments where the monster is like hunting them down and everything. But with a book, you read through it, you're held in suspense, and at some point you're going to have to put it down, and you're not going to finish it all in one sitting, which means you have to set it down, and you just have to think about that.
You just
for
sit
the
there
rest
and
of the
think
time.
about it. Well, and the thing about Carrie, too, is you almost not see a justification for the ending, but you almost feel a sense of, like, accomplishment.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's eerie. It is an eerie feeling.
A lot of the best stories that we've seen in like the most recent in movie and books puts you in the boots of the boots. Yeah, I don't know boots, but if you it puts you in the shoes of like the villain and makes you feel for them, and that really like kind of gets at you, and it's like why did I kind of like I don't know feel like you said like that like satisfaction at the end of the book. But
it's true. Stories
can do that, and I'm excited to be looking at some horror books for the rest of October.
Yes, here we are in October. Well, that's all we have for you tonight.
Join us next week for your latest news, updates, and weather.
Make sure to check out TV10 on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. I'm Marissa Day.
And I'm Alex Rubio. Thank you, and good night.